The government does a, yeah, okay.
Vladimir is here.
Finish your sentence.
Hello, Vladimir.
Namaste.
Hello.
Namaste. Hello, Nishan.
Happy. Hello. Happy New Year.
Sorry, namaste.
Yeah. So government something, and then you stop.
Oh no, I was just saying that the government does a lot for the homeless poor people, but there are obviously more numbers than you can handle.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the big thing in India. All right, we were in the chapter, I think in this hymn, yes, so 172, and we covered first 4. I will go through them once more. Do you see the text well? Is it visible?
Yes, we
Okay.
do.
All right, let's start with mantra. Om Vang me manasi pratishthitam mano me vachi pratishthitam aviravir edi vedasyama ani stha shrutam me ma prahasi anena dhitena horatran samdadhami Ritam vadishyami, satyam vadishyami, tanmamavatu, tadvaktaram avatu, avatu mam, avatu vaktaram, avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So, ni kaviya vidhasach shashvatach kar. Haste dadhano nariya puruni agnir bhuvat. Raipati rainam. Satra chakrano amritani vishma. He forms within us the seer wisdoms of the eternal Creator, holding in his hand many powers of the Godheads. May fire become the treasure master of the riches, ever fashioning all immortal things. What a profound vision. Yeah? So many intuitions in one go. So he forms within us the seer wisdoms of the eternal Creator. It tells us immediately that our individual framework is actually the projection of the universal Godhead. Yes, the transcendental Godhead is manifesting in the individual form here. And our soul is nothing but the representative of this divine Creator. He wanted to be many. And he found a way to do it through Agni, and Agni forms in us all his seer wisdoms. All his powers are being, effectuated within us, made actual, made manifested in us through Agni. So, and he holds the many powers of the Godheads. That means all the other powers, which are universal, of the Godhead, such as Adityas or Vasus or Rudras or Maruts, all of these powers he holds in his hand. He has kind of willpower over them. He can engage them anytime. So this is our soul, our psyche. I think it is all, this hymn is all about our soul, our psychic being. It starts with this even. It gives the tone what this hymn will be about. May fire become the treasure master of the riches. So you remember there is another in the first hymn, Agnina Raim Ashnavat. One should get and enjoy the riches only by Agni. So because there are many ways to enjoy the manifestation and riches, but if we do it through Agni, that would be the right way. May he become the treasure master. May he alone will be kind of leading us to the enjoyment and bliss here in manifestation, ever fashioning all immortal things. And that is actually the highest enjoyment and bliss. Immortality is soma. Soma is that immortal ambrosia which gives the greatest delight. So you see such a fundamental vision in one. It's actually, the whole Rig Veda is like this. Every verse has this fullness. So you have a mouthful of delight and meaning if you start digging. Then number 2. Asme vatsam, here it comes, vatsa. Asme vatsam parishantam na vindan, ichanto vishve amrita amurah. Shramayuvah padaviyo dhyam dhah, tastuf pade paramecharu agneh. All the immortals, the wise ones, desired but not found in us, the child who is all around. This is an interesting twist. Turning to toil on his track. So tracking his ways of doing things, upholding the thought, the higher thought. They stood in the supreme plane. They reached the beauty of the flame. I will look into my interpretation also. In us, the dear calf is hidden. Calf is usually this child, yes, the psychic being, the flame within the heart. The wise immortal beings seeking could not find him. Aspiring and working hard, following his tracks, holding to their higher vision, to the higher vision, they stood in the supreme plane and found the beauty of Agni. This is something interesting. They didn't see him. He was all around Agni, and then they discovered him within. This is also mentioned by the mother. Somewhere Satprem asks the mother, is there a psychic being in the Veda? Did rishis know about psychic being in the Veda? She says, no, they didn't know, but they discovered it. The flame within the heart. And I think this is the pointing, because they tried to find within, but couldn't. Yeah? And then by working hard, aspiring, following his tracks, looking for all his, activities and outcomes, holding the higher vision, they finally stood or arrived at the supreme plane and found the beauty of Agni, Charu, Parame, Pade. There are other verses which are speaking in the same framework, but with different words. Parame Vyomon, Hridi Guhayam Parame Vyomon. This is a constant phrase in the later language, in the highest heaven, in the cave of the heart. Yeah? So, cave of the heart and the highest heaven somehow have some kind of common ground. We always think that heart is here and heaven is there, yes, but there is also heaven within. Yeah, when we go very deep within, there will be this supreme being which incorporates the whole manifestation. Manifestation is within the light of the being. So the rishis did not know about the flame within, only without. That's what parishantam, around asme, around us there was vatsa, but navindan vatsam, they didn't find the son, Ashebinu says a child, yeah? But found not in us the child who is all around. This is all around and within. These two approaches to Agni. Agni is in the nature. By the way, Mother speaks about this in a different language. She says that she speaks about the psychic presence in nature. It is all around. It is in the plants, in the flowers, in the animals, everywhere. It's on earth. Earth itself is the psychic presence. It's the psychic being of the universe. Yeah? The material earth. Who could have thought? Yes. So when we take the body, when we are embodied, born in this body, then we take the psychic presence onto ourselves. So even if we would not have the psychic being, we would start forming it through this presence on earth. This is an amazing thing. It forms and formulates itself slowly into this being. It gives all the elements of this evolution of consciousness to the innermost spark in us, which becomes more and more formed into flame and finally into the being and can step into the front. So this process, yeah.
Sorry, I have a quick question here.
Yeah.
So the rishis worshipped Agni in nature, but did not know about the Agni within. Is that what is implied?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So this Agni within came later in the evolution of consciousness. So this knowing the psychic presence, that's why we don't use the psychic being so often, even in Indian tradition. Though they knew about the Angushthamatra Purusha, they speak about this. But they do not develop this topic much. Of course, there are, one can object and say that Vamana, for example, Vishnu, 3 steps of Vishnu is exactly that, presence within the heart which grew and took the whole universe, into it. So it's kind of spiritual transformation of the psychic which came to the front. In a way, they knew about it, but it is never interpreted in that way as Mother and Sri Aurobindo did. So it is known from the Vedic times, but here is the verse which tells us about this. Exactly this what Mother says, yes, that they discovered. They didn't know, they didn't find it in themselves, but what they did, they aspired, working hard, and they followed his tracks, they held the highest vision, and finally they stood or they arrived at the supreme plane and found the beauty of Agni. This is a mysterious language, of course. It's not said that they found the presence in the heart. It would be much easier if they would say directly. But that they didn't know about Vatsa points us immediately to this, that they didn't know about the individual flame. And they knew only about the presence of Agni in nature. That's why Mother speaks about psychic presence, which is everywhere. And that flame, or that heat, that energy in nature actually is understood by rishis as the sacrificial flame. So nature is to be offered to that flame. From here we have all these animal sacrifices, all even Purusha sacrifice, man, whom he is sacrificed to. He is sacrificed to this divine flame in nature. These were the first movements or the first sacrifices before the psychic was discovered. No?
And that is in all the traditions. You see
In all, yeah.
yes, you see this aspect of sacrifice, external sacrifice in all the ancient cultures, but nothing with the inner.
Right. And also we see in many cultures the shift from this outer, kind of by the means of nature, to achieve the growth of consciousness, of the instruments of consciousness in nature, basically developing oneself by the efforts, as even here it is said that they shramayuvach, working hard. Yeah, and so to say, by applying a lot of effort, tapasya, by the heating up the nature, the substance, by
Tapasya.
tapasya, by the force of consciousness, by the flame of consciousness, agni, you can achieve a lot. The substance will start transforming and changing and growing and becoming more supple and more receptive of the spirit. That was the old form of the sacrifice, tapasya. And then they discovered the flame in the heart, and the whole paradigm shifted, changed. So you don't need to do tapasya in that form. You have to surrender with love towards the divine, and the divine will send the grace and will do the work. And this shift is recorded in all traditions. We see
So what is the supreme plane? They stood in the supreme plane. What is the supreme?
Parame, yes. Parame is literally supreme, yes, transcendental. In the in the beyond plane, beyond time and space, as it were.
Thank you.
Yeah, this shift from the efforts in nature by tapasya towards the grace and surrender is also seen, and not only as in many traditions, Japanese, you can see it in Bible, yes, Abraham sacrificing his son, and then he hears the voice, I don't need the body of your son, bring me the lamb, pure lamb. Pure lamb is the psychic presence or psychic being, symbol of psychic being. So bring me your love. You don't need to bring me your force of willpower and so on. And in the integral yoga, we see also the shift. We totally depend on grace, So, and the psychic being. So calling and receiving the answer and letting the answer work. So this was the drift. And when this shift happened, the gods also were reclassified. So the ancient gods, which were very actively engaged in this, changing nature by tapasya, became kind of old gods, old brothers of new gods. And those old brothers are known as asuras later. And Shiva, Rudra, knowing that, he is very compassionate to asuras because he knows they started the whole movement, of evolution. They're still working there by tapasya in a way. But the reclassification changed them and made them undesirable. So there was new Brihaspati. Brihaspati comes from the heart. Interesting. The Lord of the heart, of the divine word, of invocation. He took place of he is a newly born god with Angirasa rishis. And these ancient rishis, Bhargavas, Bhrigu, belonging to Shukracharya, and they became kind of, demons or something, or asuras. In the later tradition. In the Veda, it is not like that. They are both doing the work. There are no asuras per se, in the Veda. Interesting. There are all kind of creatures. There is Vritra. They are all having different names. Valas, Vritras, and so on. We spoke about this. We had the whole session on the anti-divine forces. But we do not have that clear concept of asuras. And asura is even by this name, many gods, great gods are called. Yes, Agni is asura, and the Indra is asura, Varuna, Mitra, they are all asuras. Asura means full of power, of being. Somebody is raising hand. I don't know where it is. There is no name, only number. Number 1602. Yeah, please speak. Yeah, you have to unmute yourself. There is a muting button on the side.
Yeah. Hi,
Hi.
Vladimir. This is Rizan.
All right.
Hi.
You joined us. Very nice. Very nice.
Is it like in the Puranas when it says the Vedic gods, when the physical gods failed, Yama and Varuna went to coax Agni out of his cave into manifestation, and at first he didn't want to go? Is it kind of, the physical gods failed?
Physical gods, I don't know. I have to see the
Well,
text.
the physical worship, the thing they did in all countries everywhere, to the rocks and the trees and the mountains.
Oh, to the nature, yes.
Yeah, when the physical gods failed, I don't know, it's something in the Puranas where Yama and either Varuna or Vishnu, and I think it's Varuna, go and coax Agni out into manifestation. But I have this question. The question is, I'm sorry.
Well, go ahead.
The question is Agni, is it in some way, he rules the physical world.
Also,
this is the only point in the universe where their psychic presence has created a psychic world and psychic beings. That's why it's not an insignificant dot in the universe. Because it's the only point in the universe that has a psychic world developed.
Yeah, that's what Mother says. Yes.
And so isn't in some way Agni like Sri Aurobindo's vibration, in a sense, the vibration that transforms matter?
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. Yes, it is the vibration which changes matter. Yes, and because of that, the evolution of consciousness in being can happen only on Earth. Yes, that's what Mother says.
And to the rishis, since the Rig Veda it's a religion of the intuitive mind. When they say they stood on the supreme plane, they stood in the intuitive plane, and they could see the world of the gods, and they could see the golden lid. And at that point, somewhere through the grace of the mother, they discovered, like in the poem The Rishi, the sweet vast center in the cave divine called paradise. You know, that dwells not in that dwells in us, that dwells not in aught that is. You know, that one, that line in the poem, the Rishi. So it's, I don't know. It's Sri Aurobindo's vibration, I guess. It's something. It's something to me that's so astounding. To me, just the fact that when Sri Aurobindo would read the hymns to Agni that he translated overnight, he'd read them to the mother in the morning, and the god Agni himself would come and sit in the room to listen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Mother describes the experience of Agni, yes, and she says that that's most probably Vedic Agni, yes, exactly. Well, the many gods came to the meditation with the mother, yes. They were all sitting
well, the meditation of the mother, but when he read the mother said when he read the hymns to her, he'd translate hymns to the mystic fire overnight, and then he'd read them aloud to her in the morning. And when he read to her aloud in the morning, the god Agni would come and sit and listen.
Beautiful.
Which is something to me. It's just such an astounding fact that
Yes.
it gives so much expanding, infinite power to the English translations of hymns to the mystic fire, because the mother of transcendent grace was there to listen to the Lord,
and yes,
in his
absolutely.
English exposition of, and there's something about, I'm sure there's astounding power in the Sanskrit, and there is, but there's also that astounding power in the English, because Agni was there with the mother, with Sri Aurobindo, in a eternal moment when he read her the hymns with Agni there. Just, beyond. I don't know. I was just asking, the vibration that transforms matter, the vibration that rules the physical, because it goes back to Sri Aurobindo saying somewhere, all power is psychic power, all power is soul power. So, I'm sorry. I think I lost my question, but it is that vibration, Vladimir. Do you see that way?
Vibration is another word for the power, for the flame. Yes, it's just we can call
the power
it
that
vibration.
transforms matter. Sri Aurobindo's vibration.
Yeah, Sri
In its
Aurobindo's
essence,
the divine vibration, the divine will. He calls it the divine will, the divine flame, which is the transformative power, and the whole sacrifice is a transformation of the nature into more and more suitable instrument of the divine. So definitely, it's all about transformation, and that it is present in nature all over. And it can be focused and more revealed in the individual form as a psychic presence, and then psychic being, and then take over the whole universe. This is something amazing. This is the procedure, how it started. Yes, somewhere
the divine presence.
Right, somewhere it had
where the mother says in February 29th, 56, the divine presence was there, concrete. And all of a sudden you get that echo from her body, the concrete presence there on the playground, concrete manifest, and she takes a form bigger than the universe and raises the golden hammer. The time has come. Boom. It's that echo, or it's that.
It's all the
ecstasy
same
of unity.
procedure. There is no other power here. There's the divine power, which we call Agni. Agni is the power which leads us forward in our journey towards the divine. Yes, we engaged ourselves in the darkness, in the inconscient, and from there we start our journey. And this is interesting because we will see it in the next verses. Actually, this correspondence of the body and Agni. And body.
What hymn, sir, are you on? I can't.
You don't see the projection?
No, sir.
Oh,
What
because
hymn
you're
are
on the
what
phone. All right. We are 72. 172. It's Parashara Shakti. You have to have this computer, then you will see the hymn. It's much easier than to follow.
I have the book.
All right, I am moving to the next verse.
Mandala 1,
72.
72, and you're in Sloka.
3. And
Thank
then,
you, sir. Thank you.
yes,
Thank
thank you for your comments. Tisro yad agne sharadach tuvam itch shuchim gritena shuchayach saparian naumani chit dadhire yajniani asudayanta tanuach sujadach. So when for the 3 years of fire they worshipped thee, the pure ones, thee, the pure, with the clarity of the light, they held to the sacrificial names. Their bodies came to perfect birth, and they sped them on the way. Bodies, perfect birth. Interesting, yeah? There is a going on to build up the embodiment, and that's what Agni and psychic being is in charge. It is in charge of the birth in earthly atmosphere, the psychic presence. Everyone who wants to have that psychic being has to be born in the physical body, says the mother. Even the greatest gods, yes? If they want to change and grow and develop, they have to take the physical body, because only in the physical body the evolution, the change, the transformation is possible. So when this psychic flame, and this is my comment here, the 3 years, my interpretation, or Agni, they who are pure worshipped you, the pure, with the luminous clarity in their mind. They established indeed the sacrificial names and fashioned their perfectly born bodies. So this kind of projection of the psychic into the earthly atmosphere and into the body is actually, this connection of the body and the psychic is the fundamental for this future manifestation of the divine in the individual form. Yes? We discussed this quite a bit in many forms, because it's not very clear how this transformation will take place. The body is becoming more and more receptive of the spirit because of psychic presence. It influences our mind, our vital, our physical, and slowly they change into more receptive and more open instruments. And it comes to the point where the body should become immortal, but this body is not going to become immortal. There will be a shift. So what it is for then? Because in Agenda, Satprem discusses this with the mother, and he was imagining, and you know most probably about Satprem, he was thinking that the transformation will take place through, like caterpillar will change into butterfly, some kind, Suddenly this body will start mutating and become immortal or something. And mother made fun of this. You can find this in Agenda. She said, this body, showing onto her body, will become immortal in laughs. And in Savitri, you will find interesting indication speaking about this, that the branch of the highest heaven will be transported and planted onto the earthly soil. And I think this would be the formation of a new body, supramental body. It won't come out of this body. This body prepares the consciousness, which is growing within, to become that body, if you will. It's most probably impossible to understand, of course, for any one of us. But But if you think of it, that the consciousness from within in the individual form has to develop. So it needs this body. It's the place where it develops, where it grows, where it becomes strong, and then finally it can take the body. So it's like the pre-body of the next body. Yeah? And in the ashram, if you remember in Agenda, Mother speaks about this supramental body. She saw it. She was there already, that body. And she describes it in all the details, yes, that it will be very dense in light and so on. And what organs, inner organs of digestion will be absent, of reproduction will be absent because there will be no food, no reproduction, but there will be breathing, yeah, still, and other forms of expression, like mouth and hands. So the body will have the shape of man, but it will be very different in nature. And it is not from the substance of the earthly substance of this animal body which we inherited in the past. So this kind of connection, why I'm speaking all this so long, because the connection of the psychic and the body is obvious. So here we can see it in the Veda very beautifully. And they fashioned indeed the sacrificial names and fashioned their perfectly born bodies.
Vladimir, I have a question.
Yes.
Did you write this interpretation and the Russian underneath it?
No, Russian, no. It is somebody else. It's Yelizarenko. I took Griffith and Yelizarenko to just give different opinions on the verse, yeah, for those who study. So they can compare and see how the mind is deviating from the spiritual interpretation into some other one. I like Griffith, actually.
Who is Griffith? Is he a translator?
There is the whole translation by Griffith. He was a scholar of 19th century. He translated the whole Rig Veda in the rhythmic way. That's why I like him. It's a poetry. You can read him in poetic rhythm. He's following the meter at the same time. And he does not intrude much with the interpretation. He keeps with the words, yeah, as they are. And in that sense, it's much better if you don't know how to interpret. Yelizarenko embodied all Western Indology, and there you see everything, what is wrong with the Western Indology, actually, in her translation. It's quite interesting to read. So the psychic flame found in the cave of the heart fashions a perfectly born body. Namani and Jniyani, also interesting. So these sacrificial names are the transformative meanings which they established as the intentions of the innermost being to manifest a perfect body for the divine. You hear this all the time, and rishis established new names, sacrificial names. You know, this as it is Yajniyani, Dadhire, they held within. Indeed, they held these names, these intentions, these meanings. When we hold to a particular meaning, we move the whole consciousness in that direction. Yeah? So these are the names held in the consciousness, and they result in this manifestation of the perfectly born body.
What are these names?
These are the intentions, or the what do you call it? Every name. What is the name? Let us start with this. Yeah. What is name? When we name something, what is it?
Identify it, label it.
Yeah, one part of it, to label it for others to recognize that you're speaking about that. But this is such a superficial thing. Yeah? Yes,
Pashyati in your own, like this thing. the intention.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
meaning behind the name?
Yes, it's always the meaning. Is it not so?
Yeah.
When we say the name, it means something. Yes. When we say the phone, what does it mean? The mobile. It tells us that you can call, you can talk, you can send a message. It tells us all that by one simple name. So it brings the whole bunch of meanings and activities, yeah, and forces of consciousness. So name holds that together, yeah, that reassembles the whole meaningful world in a particular fashion or a particular form, which can act upon our consciousness. These are the visions. And once these sacrificial names are held, then if suppose I am aspiring for the divine every day, this is my name, yeah? I call it by name. I call Sri Aurobindo the mother, or I call other names of the Godheads. And as Sri Krishna says in one of the treatises in the medieval history, he says, if somebody calls me Krishna, Krishna, I hear this and I must answer. So this is the name. The name involves the force, of consciousness. So here the same. And these are sacrificial names. That means names which are transformative, have transformative power over the nature. So if we hold on to them, if I hold on to the vision of the growth of consciousness as a name, every day I will grow in consciousness. To whom I sacrifice, there I go, says Sri Krishna in the Gita. To whom you sacrifice, there you go. Sacrifice means that you will engage with that particular meaning, particular force. Through what? Through, in consciousness, it is formed as a name. Yeah? And through that, I have a relation with that power. And that power starts acting upon me and forms the perfect body, perfectly born body. I invoke those powers. I call to them. They come to me and start acting within me. These are the names. You see, so much for a simple thing as name. Namani Yajniyani, such a beautiful vision of the Veda. And now we come to number 4, which we have already actually examined, but we go slow today again. It's a new year, I guess. Arodasi Brihati Vevidanah Prarudriya Jabharira Yajniyasah Vidan Marto Nemadhita Chikitvan Agnim Pade Parame Tasthivansam. Again, the Parame Pade. The masters of sacrifice discovered in their impetuous might bore the vast earth and heaven. Now they're carrying vast earth and heaven. Vast, interesting. Then the mortal knew them, and by his holding of the upper hemisphere perceived the fire standing in the supreme plane. So the masters of the sacrifice, we do not know who they are. They do not say who they are. Yajniyasach. Yajniyasach literally are those who sacrifice more and more. Yeah, increasingly more, transforming. So they are not stopping in sacrificing. Their purpose is to be going on sacrificing. It's not that they finished their particular transformation and stopped. They never stop. They move forward. So Sri Aurobindo calls them the masters of sacrifice. These can be the powers, the Godheads, the powers, because all the gods are powers of the soul. Yeah. And Um, here I was in the morning. I was sitting and thinking about this verse, especially number 4, and I wrote this small passage for myself to follow these notes. Having discovered the two vast and luminous foundations, the masters of sacrifice bore them forward in their power of Rudra. Interesting, power of Rudra. Rudra is the involved Godhead, yes, in the nature, in the substance, in the inconscient. At the bottom of the inconscient there is a presence of power, and that is Rudra. The mortal found them, aware of the upper half, discovering the flame staying in the supreme realm. Those who are engaged in transformation of themselves, these yajniyasah, again and again, discovered the supramental foundation of heaven and earth. Why I say supramental foundation? Because Rodasi are two luminous realms, two luminous firmaments, yeah? And they are associated with heaven and earth. But how come that they are both luminous? Interesting. We don't perceive earth as luminous, but it is luminous. It is full of the psychic light, yeah? Of psychic presence. So of our true mental and physical consciousness as the luminous firmaments of our existence. And the prototype of these two is in the supramental world, where these two are equal and one. Yeah? The heaven and earth are also in the supermind, or mental and physical formation, or one, many in one, and one in many, and many, these three levels of the supermind. Yeah? And by the power of Rudra, the involved Godhead, they bore them forward. The power of Rudra is actually Agni. Yeah? Agni is his son. Agni is a flaming, revealing power of the involved Godhead in the substance. It is by this action that the mortal being became aware of the upper hemisphere and discovered Agni staying in the highest place. Agni is in the highest place. So there is another mysterious passage, yes, of discovering Agni in the highest place. So there are several of them. All of them describe a different experience. I think that mortal being is actually mortal in us. Yes, we have two beings in us, at least. One is immortal within, this is the presence of the flame, and the other is the surface, the superficials, the inherited darkness which we took into our body. And that is the mortal, which is dying, which is serving the purpose of the evolution of the inner, for the inner being. And this mortal being came to know about the upper hemisphere and discovered Agni. Now, on the surface of our consciousness, we may speak about it. We discovered the secret divine will within us. Yes? And we can relate to it. We can invoke it. We can rely on it in our journey.
So, Vladimir, so Agni is in also the surface of this, the mortal being, and also in the inner being.
No, not the mortal. He is immortal among mortals. He is the one who is within this mortality. Mortality is the... What is mortality? Okay. What do you think mortality is? You speak a bit.
I was thinking like Agni is something which gives life to mortality?
Yes, absolutely. Otherwise, the mortality would never have any life. But it has a very limited span of life because there is Agni within. Absolutely.
So when Agni leaves, we die. Like
Yes, absolutely. When Agni departs, or the part of the soul, our soul departs, then we drop our body, this frame in which we lived.
and psychic being, then it just leaves and psychic, and then when we come in different form, the psychic being comes back.
Right. We take a new body, yes. And we continue the journey. What is the journey? Mainly, Shubindu speaks about double process of evolution. We spoke about it in our Rig Veda, the vision of unity. Yes? So there are two things evolving. But I think more and more that though they are both important, the evolution of this outer frame is important for one particular reason, for the inner being to be more and more efficient in growth. This is what I think, because this body finally will be dropped once the inner being totally developed. Once it is totally developed, it will take another shape, another substance, also to say. But I'm not totally sure on this topic. I'm just throwing something which I think about. So if you know something more about it, so please share always. This is the most mysterious and most unknown topic. What will be the immortal body?
Yeah, I was just thinking about Agni. So Agni is present in all the levels of consciousness then, and it's like this in this larger consciousness also, and in this mini consciousness which exists within different layers of our being. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
And then the difference between Agni and psychic is how do I differentiate?
It is Agni, yes. It is more individualized flame within. It is the same flame. Vedic rishis speak about this Agni in two forms, yes, as we spoke about this also before, Yajatra and Priya. Priya and Yajatra, or Idiach, beloved, or sought with adoration. There is love element, and that where you have love element, it is the psychic flame. Yajatra, to be sacrificed, to be transformed, the transformative power is that Agni present in all nature. It is transforming, always working on the nature. The whole nature evolves, constantly moves for betterment and so on. All the forms are changing in nature. That is the Yajatra aspect of Agni. Whereas the Priya, beloved, it is that flame which loves the divine within us. And it was formed later, much later in the evolution of consciousness. It is the same flame, yeah.
The one which seeks the divine is then Priya. One which seeks Krishna, one which calls for these deity.
Yes.
Yes.
And what is interesting, why it is the same, because once the psychic presence is present in all the nature, can you imagine, in all the physical forms of nature, in all the trees, greenery, flowers. Mother says even that psychic presence in flowers is stronger than in man, even. So you can imagine flowers are the very manifestation of this psychic presence in nature. But they are impersonal. They do not have that personality of the psychic being in human beings, which is not yet, it cannot decide what to do, it cannot move and change and so on. It is just expressing that delight of the psychic in nature.
But this makes them so pure, and it's just, I mean, I did a course on flowers healed with Dr. Vandana at Oroville, and that was just life changing. And whole thing about interacting with flowers, and then it's like, why are we not flowers? Why are we humans? Just so easy to
Right.
then go to one with the divine. And the
I
whole,
agree with you. It would be much better to be flowers than humans.
yeah,
But the divine has different plan for us. Yeah? So we we should become flowers with free will. Can you imagine free will? The divine will has to be manifested fully in all possible relations. So what I wanted to say, that this is the amazing, and this is very elusive thought. It is always leaving me, and then I cannot catch. I'm trying to catch the tail of this thought. And it is that the psychic presence in the nature builds up the foundation of any embodiment, yeah, of any physical embodiment. That means animated nature, animated matter. Animated by
Right.
what? By the spirit, yeah? By
In
anima, by the soul. Yeah? Right?
in deep time, Vladimir, there were no flowers until about 110 million years ago.
Right, absolutely.
So they're
That is a good point.
they're an evolved a thing evolved out of matter.
Yeah,
110 million years ago, the first flowers looked like green pine cones.
right.
And matter like worked to bring the typal white lotus above down and manifest itself on earth and
Yeah.
all the flowers. It's like the eonic labor of the mother. But the way I think about it's a line from Savitri: an immortal spirit in perishing clay. It's the idea of the Adhara, that the immortal spirit is imperishable clay.
Right.
Like
You remember
in the
how
book of the traveler.
Adam was created? It was from clay, and then he breathed into him the breath of the divine.
Life force. Life
Mhm.
force.
And he started to live. But that clay is still a clay. It can sustain over a certain period, and then in that breath has to take another clay form.
To me, it doesn't solve the mystery, but it kind of points to it. Is Sri Aurobindo talking about new matter, and the mother saying the texture of the new creation is different from this creation, and the creation of new matter, when the mother goes to an atom and wakens it up and breaks the darkness of where it was wrapped forever, and it wakes up and pulsates with ecstasy and love. It's the creation of the new matter by the Shakti, Sri Aurobindo's vibration by the Shakti. It's like, you can call it Agni, you can call it.
Yeah, right.
I'm stumped.
Right. So I've finished this thought, which is elusive, again eluding me, going away. So if the nature is, can you imagine like this? So it is all evolving with, we were flowers, as he says, many years back. So many million years, billion years back. So now finally it takes shape and form, and it started to evolve into this physical being of the human being, Purusha, with all the faculties, could speak, could communicate, could think about the divine, has the psychic presence in him which can be manifested, take charge of the mental, vital, physical, in the individual frame first and then in the universal terms. So this kind of development requires the body. And so from the beginning of Earth evolution, this body was slowly built. With many attempts, nature was finding all kinds of shapes and forms, and finally it arrived at this new shape where the psychic presence can grow and identify itself with the individual being. Yeah? It cannot grow and identify itself with individual being in the animal. It doesn't work that way. It's not proper suitable body. The body has to allow that growth. This is what elusive thought, how psychic and body are related. How appropriate body is to be given to the psychic, and why this answers why in Indian tradition neither body nor psychic were really truly identified. Once the body is neglected as some kind of imprisonment for the spirit, so with it psychic being is also diminished in its presence. So only nirvana or some samadhi or other achievements of the spirit, yes, of the transcendental form of the peace and siddhis were identified as important. But this kind of element of evolution itself disappears from the Vedic times. It is only present in the Vedic framework. You can't find the concept of evolution later. It's only here. This transformation, constant moving forward, constant cleansing and offering oneself to the higher forces is the ever-advancing pilgrim, a human being. This is the evolutionary concept, which you don't find even in Upanishads, you will not find it. It's already veiled and slowly it disappears altogether. So we deal with it as static, and that's it. The static divine, static nature, so leave nature, go to the divine. This is the formula at the end.
So do you think it's just a thought which came that because divine had, there was psychic being and the earth was created and this field was already there and the psychic being had to be manifested. So then there was this like, let's experiment, and then humans were formed too because psychic being had to get one. Like, okay, this is not working, this is not, this will work, sort of.
Yeah, many forms were left behind, and they played their role because the development of that capacity of the involved divine grew with time. Yes. As Sri Aurobindo says, we think that we developed very rapidly from the Stone Age to these human beings. It's impossible. There were many, many cycles before, many civilizations. To have this rapid development within one of this human being, you need billions of years beyond, to really to tune all the elements in the action within the body. It doesn't happen over a few years, over a few generations, within 10,000 years. It will never happen. It needs much longer period, much greater involvement. And so divine very patiently works with us. It's a very tardy tardy process of evolution, because it wants to maintain and grow within the physical frame, within time and space. The one who is beyond time and space wants to grow here and become an individual being. It's not an easy task, even for the divine. Okay, we can stop here. Unfortunately, we didn't even start a new verse, but next time we will start with number 5. I will close with mantra. Om Sarve Bhavanto Sukhinaha Sarve Santo Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I think this hymn is all about this embodiment of Agni in the psychic frame, in the individual frame. You could see it will develop it more and more till the end. And it's kind of growing layer upon layer, experience upon experience. We can again re-examine it at the end. and see what we don't understand. There are a few things which we don't understand at all, but they are I think the transitional experiences towards this manifestation of the divine in the individual frame. All right, thank you. See you then.
Namaste.
Namaste. Bye.